What is going on, everybody? The Real Sharif M here, aka Mangana Steel, your favorite knife designer, here with another video about knife design. And this is kind of like a little bit of a story and a little bit of a guide and maybe some advice to any one of you who is interested in designing knives. And what really prompted this video was I was reminded of a phrase that I learned back in design school, which said, "Every millimeter matters." So let me tell you why that phrase is so important through this story. I had submitted a design to a company, and that company liked the design and approved it and wants to go into production with it. So you'll hopefully be seeing it sometime 8 months to a year from now, or shorter, fingers crossed. When I usually submit a design, I usually submit a sketch or like a one sheet kind of thing. Here, let me bring you along and show you. A one sheet kind of looks a little bit like this. It has sketches on it, shows how the locking mechanism, where the back spacer is, pocket clips, all of that good stuff. Now, that's fine and good, right? But the problem is I threw away my one sheet, which I never do. And I kind of freaked out a little bit, you know, when I realized that, like, holy crap, this is gone, you know? But instead of letting that kind of derail me, I realized that it was an opportunity to reassess and ensure that my knife design achieved exactly what I was aiming for, what my goals were for the design. And this kind of set me down the pathway of every millimeter matters. All I had was a single photo that I had taken of the knife. And so I took that opportunity to bring it into Photoshop and scale it. So I started at like 3.05 inch blade and then increased it by here, I can actually tell you. I increased it by 1/10 of an inch. So 3.15, 3.25, 3.35. And that looks kind of like this, right? And I began to do what I recommend to everybody, which is to create study models. So what is a study model? Well, to everybody who's kind of new to me and my process and this recommendation, what it is a foam cutout. Literally, a piece of foam that is cut out to the exact shape of the design that you want to make. And as you can see, I've done this for a number of knives. We have the Mannix 2 here, Griptilian, Spartan Harsey, full-size folder, Benchmade Super Freak, Shaman, Shaman here, Benchmade CQC7. I have a bunch of these. And the reason why I recommend these is because in my experience alone, if it doesn't work here in the foam, it's not going to work no matter what kind of finessing you put onto it once it gets into the full size. And I'll give you a good example of that. So this was my foam model of the Spartan Harsey folder. And one of the things that kind of stuck out to me right from the get-go with the foam model, actually it's the main thing that stuck out to me, is this transition here from the spine to the butt. And this point right here kind of gets me in the middle of the meat of my hand, which is really interesting because the rest of the knife works for my hand beautifully. Each one of these finger choils fits my finger perfectly. The position of the thumb ramp in a true tactical form works really well, but this finds itself kind of in an awkward position more often than not. And then just recently, I received an actual Spartan Heartsy folder from a follower of the channel for me to review. And what's really interesting is when I grip the knife, guess what? That exact same thing happens there. I can feel that digging into the meat of my palm. So it's very interesting. No matter what you do, you cannot change what happens in the foam. And what is comfortable here, even in this thin, you know, kind of basic shape, will translate to when you get into a full size, such as this. So when I began working on kind of translating, you know, this concept back into something, you know, like real world, real proportion using the study models, I kind of went ham. So here we go. These are all the versions that survived the trash bin, and look at how many variations I made. And some of them vary about 1/10 of an inch. Some of them vary 0.05 of an inch. And what's amazing is, again, if you translate that to millimeters, we're looking at like, some are about 3 millimeters or so different. Some are about 1 to 1.5 millimeters different. But believe it or not, it actually changes everything. So I can tell you, for example, that one of the sweet spots, you know, that I was able to determine was around 3.35 inch blade. You know, I can get a good position here in a pinch grip. I have decent coverage. It's a little short for my, you know, double XL grip, but the idea was to make a smaller EDC knife with this. But choking up, super comfortable, all of this. But when I handed it off to my father, because I love letting him test these out and give me his feedback, he said it was maybe a little too small, a little too big. So what did I do? I made two that were literally 0.05 inches, one smaller, one bigger. You can see that here. This one, come on, says 3.3. This one says 3.4, and the original 3.35, right? And believe it or not, man, that 0.05 millimeters made a difference. The 3.4 was the absolute sweet spot. This thing, everything hits a lot better. Stuff like this little back transition here used to kind of like dig into the palm a little bit on the 3.35, but now super duper comfortable. Choke up grip, even more robust, just feels solid in the hand. Even for my double extra large hands, the 4-finger grip, yeah, I'm catching the tail end of the knife here, but every other ergo point feels good. You know, pinch grip, using the harpoon, just everything kind of falls into the hand a little bit better. And all of that comes from having this little piece of foam. And that's the beauty of this, right? Because now what I can do, as I described, was I could hand this off to another person and get their feedback. And believe me, guys, if you're married, you have kids, you have siblings, like whoever are the people that are potentially around you, use them as your guinea pigs, right? Because yes, while you can design for you, not everybody has the same hand size as you do. And that's a valuable thing to be able to like see and experiment with and kind of dial it in. Now, here's the thing. You may be saying, Sharif, you know, you bastard, okay? I don't have Photoshop. I don't have, you know, a fancy setup where I can do all of this stuff. Well, I sympathize. If you have access to a scanner, right? scanners usually have like a copier function, and in that you can change the scale of your copy. So try like, you know, a 100%, a 95%, a 90%, or do it more granular, 98, 96, 94, so forth, right? To get the different sizes, and then cut them out and put them onto foam, right? And by the way, the foam that I use is just this stuff right here. I get it from Hobby Lobby, not a big secret. It's adhesive on one side, saves me from using a glue stick. I used to use glue sticks to do this process. Doesn't hurt to use a glue stick, it's not a problem. This just allows me to be a little bit lazy. I cut out the knife, put it here, cut it out with an X-Acto, cut around the edges. Again, not rocket science. This is first semester stuff that they teach us in design school, right? Now, if you don't have access to a scanner, see if you can get access to a copy machine. And if you don't have access to either of those, try and find a Kinko's, you know. I know it adds a little bit of time and energy and effort, but these little things, these millimeters that matter, will make the difference between your design being good and your design potentially being great. And I think we all want our efforts to achieve some level of greatness, ultimately. Now, again, I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. I'm not saying that I have designed great things, but at least I'm maximizing my potential to get there. So, hope you guys like this. Hope you guys remember every millimeter matters. And if you guys enjoyed this, let me know down in the comments, and I will catch you soon. Peace.